Let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon here, and here with which one is Rumble's not there? That's okay. Rumble ain't there. We'll just stream to Rumble later. So sorry about that, Rumble fans. You're not on right now, but we will stream to you later. There's a lot going on. There's CIA tomfoolery going on in Mexico. Huckabee, God only knows if you heard that train wreck of, hey, we're here for Zionism. Screw you, Americans. I don't work for you. Let's get started with the gross stuff, because we got to get safe perspective here. Because I mean, I'm in the room with myself. Theoretically, I could infect myself with COVID. Now, actually, come to think of it, I learned this from restaurants. When I'm sitting down, I can take this off. When you're standing up, the virus will get you. But when you sit down and start to eat, you just take your mask off. I wonder if I could get like a wheelchair and just like put food on the wheelchair and just roll myself around all the time. And the virus would think I was eating in a restaurant and just be like, I'm going to grab Garland. Crap, he's sitting down. Can't get him now. What do you think?
Oh, no, I think it's a great idea. And we knew this early on during COVID, right, Garland? We knew about there were certain hours of lunch and dinner where where COVID was not going to affect you. Also, don't forget, you could do the little hole for the straw. So you can drink. Yeah,
yes,
that was
also, I want to play an instrument like the band. Did you see the band picture where they had a hole cut so they could stick their instrument through to play that?
Yes. So if you're blowing a horn, blowing a trumpet, whatever, you can use that hole. It tricks COVID. So we figured out that you're tricking the virus. It won't know that you're doing that. So it's a method. They figured that out early, but of course, just follow what they tell you. You know, Fauci, Gates, they were right on it. They were always about our health and safety the whole time. As the Epstein files are revealing now, of course, they were always about our well-being. And that's just been, just doubled down on when we're looking at these files, because the pandemic response had to be established years before, because it's important that we can pull, as Bill Gates said to Epstein, we need to be able to pull this off. Well, they certainly did pull it off. So congrats to them. And we should give them more respect now that we know that they were plotting this as early as 2015.
Absolutely. So we're here to flatten the curve, and the only way we can do it is get you information. Before we start talking about Mexico, before we start talking about Huckabee, let me show you like the most gross thing in the world, and you need to look at that. Dr. John Campbell. I'm just going to show it real quick because these are grotesque pictures, and I don't want to freak people out. What are those pictures? Well, apparently, now this is completely unrelated to mRNA vaccines, because we know they are safe and effective. We recommend that you get one almost daily. If you can, more than once a day would even be better, because they're so great. They prevent bad things from happening. However, for some reason, totally unrelated to the mRNA jab, these strange white blood clots after like 2021 suddenly started showing up. They're looking into them, they're investigating them, and they're saying, this is weird. They've never been seen. Medical science has no reference. But in 2021, these really weird white blood clots, and they're so big that when they take them out of your body, they're like, well, hell, nobody could live with this in it. No wonder this person died. What do you think, Matt?
Oh, yeah, no, completely unrelated to and when you're mentioning the timeline, Garland, that's important to see that they came out of nowhere in 2021. We're still seeing them now, and that's also very, very concerning. But like you said, the timeline has nothing to do with when the COVID vaccine was distributed, and let's just be clear, forced on a lot of people against their wanting it. That's what happened. So let's be clear. But that, again, nothing to do with that. Now, luckily, like you mentioned, John Campbell, and he's been doing some work gathering. Got to give some credit to some of these doctors, like New Zealand doctors speaking out with science. They've been putting these studies together, these papers together, where they're looking at the correlation, not just on this timeline, but where these things are coming from. And they're showing up post-mortem, but we're also seeing, based on these studies, that they're certainly being developed within human beings before they pass away. And so why are the doctors in the Western medical arena, or let alone anywhere else in the world, looking into this right now, when we know that there's massive blood clot spikes that have been going on, and people don't know what to do about it? I mean, this is something that we've seen from a personal vantage point. Me personally, my father-in-law is dealing with this right now, and that's why we've been in San Diego, talking with experts, and we call them experts because they're trying to figure out what to do. And thank God he's still alive, but he's been dealing with this. Oddly enough, Garland, he's been dealing with it since 2021 for the last 5 years. Blood clotting, brain bleeding. There's some kidney failure going on. There's a lot of good people working with him, but he's just like a lot of other people out there. The conversation that's not being had, which Dr. John Campbell is trying to have with us, is why is this happening? Where does it come from? How can you treat any sort of illness or disease if you don't look at the root causes? And if there's a certain thing that you're not allowed to talk about, you're not allowed to talk about mRNA. You're not allowed to talk about spike protein, Garland. That never comes up in doctor circles. They can't afford for it to come up. So they have to go right around it and talk about everything else. So how are we going to be able to treat people and figure out ways you can detox from this poison, because that's what it is? How can we do that if we can't even talk about it around the table? You know, it would be like trying to figure out, why are people dying from lung cancer, but you can't ask the question, well, how many cigarettes did that patient smoke every day? And you get a look like, how dare you bring that up? What somebody smokes is their own private business, and we should not be looking at that. Now, what do we do about all the lung cancer? It would be exactly like doing that.
And Philip Morris tells us that smoking is safe and effective. So, that's all we would need. Hey, should we look into possibly cigarettes? No, Philip Morris tells us it's safe and effective. So why in the world would you possibly, how could you doubt it? In fact, the brilliant minds in our society have come to the conclusion that everybody should smoke. I'm surprised they didn't do that. They didn't say, look, if you don't smoke, you can't get on a train. Instead of saying you can't smoke in a bar, why don't they just say, well, if you don't smoke, hey, I'd like to come in this bar and hang out. Oh, I'm sorry. You don't have a cigarette in your hand. Here, let's give you one. But I don't smoke. Well, you can't come in here, pal. You're not welcome.
Yeah, exactly like that. And so can we at least start having these conversations? I would say people go to Dr. John Campbell's YouTube page now. People say, well, he hasn't been taken down. He's allowed to be on YouTube. Well, sometimes he gets videos taken down. But he's very good on verbiage and wording, where we're just looking at facts. We're not so you can draw your own conclusions. But that's who is breaking this down. He's been doing it for an excellent job the last 5 years. But yes, this new one he just dropped 2 days ago, the rubbery white clots, actually being talked about. Looking at these papers coming from, as I mentioned, the New Zealand doctors speaking out with science, done excellent jobs. These papers are going through everything from the morphology to the histology, the elemental analysis. It goes through every bit of the origins of this and why this is happening. And then, of course, then we can talk about what do we do about it.
There we go. A lot of things here to see. There we go. Oh, look at this virus from a lab. I wonder what that has in. I wonder if that has what he could possibly be talking about. Virus from a ivermectin. That's horse paste. Who in the world would even think of touching such a thing? Yeah. Certainly, that's absolute conspiracy theory. That's why I had to get my tinfoil hat on.
And I just want to say one more thing about that. Like, look, there's people in the medical arena that want to have these discussions right now, and I'm telling, I'm seeing it. Like, there are people, they're not at the level, the CEO level and the shareholder level. And if people don't know this, there was a Kaiser strike been going on for 5 weeks. Again, this is where you crush the worker, you crush their ability to provide, a great, environments for their patients, and that's why they've been on the streets. But these CEOs and shareholders, they're so powerful that they will shut these things down. And we just got the bad news that the Kaiser strike has been completely squashed, and they're being forced to go back to work with nothing in place, no contract. That just happened. And this is the same environment where they're supposed to be having honest conversations with their patients, and they can't even do that. So if you're a medical worker and you're watching our shows, and we know a lot of them do, and I want to give credit to those that are speaking up and saying, hey, we got to have these conversations. What is going on? Why are you making these environments horrible for these patients? Why are we not talking to them about everything that we should be talking to them about? So the secrecy, the capture of the wealth, the crushing of the worker, the crushing of the patients. It seems that they are winning that game, but we just need more people with the courage to have these conversations right now, because without the people in the street, we're not going to be able to get anywhere, and they're going to win. The people at the top are going to win, and that's where we are right now, unfortunately, in the medical arena.
Yeah, I recall when, and that some people who are lifelong Democrats will be like, well, if the Democrats were in, that would help. No, when the Democrats were in, the railroad workers went on strike, and they were like, well, we only get like 1 day of sick leave a year, and we're outside in the cold getting run over by trains. I mean, you ever ride a train? It's like 0 degrees outside, and you're on a train going down the road, and there's a bunch of train workers outside, and you're like, my God, I would want to be a dog out there. And they're out there working on the tracks, doing in this ungodly weather. They get like 1 sick day a year, and all they were asking for, hey, can we get a week's sick leave? No. And if you remember under Biden, go back to work or you're fired. So that's what you're going to get. That's why we got to stand up. That's why we got to push back.
So there's a new word, and I've noticed your hat, Garland. I love it, the tinfoil. And this is your references to the names we've been being called for all these years, the conspiracy theorists, the tinfoil hats. And I think it's time we come up with a name to call them right back, and not in a derogatory way, but we need to start defining what groups we are in right now. And the group we're in a non-tribal environment. We're in an environment where, like you mentioned with the Biden stuff versus the Trump stuff, we're sick of this side, our side, your side, tribal. We're done with the tribal thing. And with all the Epstein files dropping and all of it's clear as day that they're all in on it. So let's stop being tribal. And if you're going to continue to do that with all the information that's right in front of you right now about COVID, about Epstein, about child sacrifice and child sex trafficking, and they're eating people, for crying out loud. If we're done with this, come with us in this critical thinking space. If you're still gonna latch onto that, let's start calling you what you are. You're a tribalist, and we're gonna say, oh, you're still a tribalist. That'll be the new tinfoil hat. How about we do that? We'll start calling you a tribalist if you're still holding on to the fact that your team's the good guy and it's the other guys that are bad. We're done with that.
Oh, by the way, some people in the chat were asking about my tinfoil hat, just to play on words there. And you can go in, if anybody wants some, there's a merch link. You can go in the show notes and just click on more. And there's a link if you want to get your tinfoil hat or my Biden bomb Nord Stream hat, t-shirt, stuff like that. Go to my merch page and you can get that kind of stuff. Anyway, let's move on. Mexico. Now, as soon as I heard, oh, there's car bombs in Mexico, there's that. And I'm like, okay, that's the CIA. I remember Fast and Furious. We put guns in there. They're like, oh, there's fights between drug cartels. And I'm like, I remember when El Chapo was nabbed. And I found this article that said the DEA, 2 DEA agents came forward and said, yeah, we worked with El Chapo. We allowed him to bring drugs into the United States in return for giving information on other cartels. So the bottom line is this: as soon as I see, oh, drug cartels are fighting, and I'm like, and the U.S. is doing all this crap in the Caribbean. They're trying to overthrow Cuba. They're mad because Mexico won't go along. They're accusing everybody of being cartels of the sun or whatever it is. I'm like, yeah, it's CIA. That's false flag. What do you think?
Oh, that's absolutely our instinct right away. It certainly looks like a CIA operation. But let's take a step back and look at, because I know like a lot of stuff has happened in the last 24, 48 hours. And just so viewers understand this, that yes, there was an actual assassination of a major cartel leader. They call him El Mencho, and he was injured at first. They had him in captivity, and then he died. So it's not clear on whether he was assassinated and targeted to die, or they were just trying to capture him. But either way, this has certainly sparked outrage from the cartel. Now, look, if you're looking at this from the outside in, and you're getting your reports from any U.S. outlet or any other outlet that's not giving you what's really happening, they're going to tell you that Mexico's in chaos. And the idea is that it gets us manufactured consent, that we need to have interventionism again, that U.S. needs to come in and do something about this. But like you said about the CIA, the reason we know that it's happening on both sides is because the weaponry that's being used is U.S. weaponry. The cartels that now they have responded to this death of obviously they've responded, and they've locked down many parts of Mexico. Now, we were there. I was there with my family this last couple of days. We were actually in the northern part of Mexico and saw this thing go out in real time, and everything was locked down. They started patrolling. There was actual state police patrolling. That's never happened before. They usually have the cartel looking after everyone there, as far as who runs stuff. But again, the CIA is funding both sides of the operation. So this is how it works. You take these cartel members and you train them. And we already know this happened. They were sent to Ukraine for training and weaponry. And they got this sophisticated technology, this drone technology and weapons technology that they brought back, and they were ready for this operation. So then and Caroline Leavitt has told us, we supplied all the intel to do this assassination. So she's bragging about that. And we did provide that intel. How did we know that? Because we are the ones that are working directly with the cartel, giving them everything they need for the pushback they do immediately following, which locks down, like I said, all parts. There's a lot of parts of Mexico that are still locked down right now, including Guadalajara. You know that Puerto Vallarta, this is where all of this real big chaos is happening right now. And it's, again, people think when they look at it, they go, oh, Mexico is out of control. It's crazy. We're going to need to come in and help. But no, we're the ones setting this up. And the deaths that have been reported right now are basically just on the cartel side and the Mexico police that have been, there's been casualties. Now, if you're an American tourist or if you're somebody on the outside, you're not in good shape as far as the unknown, but you are being told to lock down in place right now and wait till further instructions. But as far as we know, there hasn't been any American or any other a citizen casualty at this point. But again, we have to look at what's really happening on the ground. We know there's people there trying to get the story. We know that Patrick Henningsen, that's a friend of the show, I know he's you know him very well, Garland, he's been on the ground there in Puerto Vallarta trying to report on this accurately, but there's a lot of people that are not doing it accurately right now. And so we just need to take a step back and look at what's happening and see who benefits from this. And it's clear who benefits is the American government and the Israeli U.S. War machine, because we are manufacturing more consent of the American people that we need to intervene yet again in another country's business, and we need to come in and clean stuff up. So it's going as designed right now, and we've seen this, like you said, time and time again. CIA inside job, definitely a false flag.
Well, and the other thing is this: they show you a few pictures. Mexico's a big country. They show you a few pictures here and there and make you think that the entire nation of Mexico is going up in smoke, right? That recalls me, if you remember the Baltimore riots, right, with the Freddie Gray murder. Okay, so where I live is not far from, I'm in the suburbs outside of Baltimore, between Baltimore and Annapolis. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to head on in, and there's issues. I'm a retired law enforcement. I can badge my way in. Oh, where you going? Boom, show my badge. They'll say, go ahead, right? So I say, all right, good. One leftover perk of being a cop, having your retirement badge. At any rate, so I go on in there, and I'm expecting, it to look like Bikini Bottom when, how it always has on the on the cartoon where they're all running in different directions and everything is on fire. I'm expecting it's going to be looking like a zombie apocalypse, right? I ride through the city, everything's normal all over the city. I'm like, what the hell? And they said, oh, yeah, it's at North Avenue and whatever, right? So I drive to North Avenue. And so here's the deal. One intersection in Baltimore. There's people here. There's some cops there. There's, some news. There were more, first of all, there were more news people and satellite trucks than any of the other groups. So what they did was they focused on this one intersection, this big intersection, and you could see people here. And then they show pictures of other parts of the city, like there was a fire someplace, and they showed this fire. Now, there is no guaranteed that that fire was related to anything to do with this. But when you saw the video on the news, you assumed they're burning the city down because they were like, oh, look at this. The Baltimore is mayhem and pandemonium. This is one intersection. And now look at this. There's a fire in East Baltimore. You're like, holy crap, they're burning the city down. But we don't even know that that fire was, it could have been, you know, just like an electrical fire. Some homeless people with a fire barrel accidentally caught a building on fire or something, right? So they can take, but people literally thought Baltimore was going up in smoke.
Yeah.
It was one freaking intersection. So that's why I say in Mexico, I will guarantee you that there's like a couple of spots in Mexico where it is. 99% of Mexico is perfectly safe, but what they can do is probably have a couple of car bombs here and a couple of things. When I saw a car on fire, I'm like, car bomb, that's CIA, definite. What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is where you get this high tech, you know, weaponry that they've already had in advance and ready to use. And they're not, again, they're not killing civilians. They're setting up these little roadblocks. Patrick Henningsen was reporting on this. There's a bus. Nobody's in the bus. They just had it designed specifically to be a roadblock and to kind of send a message. So you see that one bus, you go, oh, the whole city's on fire. No, it was a very strategic thing. We saw some CCTV footage of a gas station where they came in, the cartel came in and they poured some gasoline and then they lit it. The gas station didn't go on fire, but I in the footage you can see them clearing out. They say, you get out, you get out, you get out. We're just gonna. So it's a message signal to do what you're saying, to send to. So when you see the aerial shots or you do like kind of that far back shot, you go, oh, they're just bombing indiscriminately. But this is very, very well coordinated. And again, we're helping with the coordination and we're coordinating both sides. That's the whole thing. So for Carolyn Levitt to get on there and say, yeah, we're working with the Mexico State Police, we're getting this to happen, and we want to take full credit for this. And then Sheinbaum has to go on this morning and she's telling her people, look, we appreciate the US's intel to help us, but we did it ourselves, and we're really confident that we finally got this cartel under control. But all of that is theater, and like I'm not saying she's part of all the plotting and planning, but she's in a really bad spot herself because she's being told you have to say these talking points to make people feel like we got this thing contained, but it is the cartel that needs to be stopped. But no, we're the ones creating, again, I can't stress this enough, we're creating the chaos to make it present like they need our help because the whole country's on fire. It's not. We were there. We were in TJ. And I'm telling you, everybody, the store owners had to lock down. They had to tell everyone to just stay inside, but nothing was actually happening. We were able to get right through the border and right back into San Diego. And we were there, just to be clear, we were there with my father-in-law's health condition in San Diego. So everything kind of works together and we just happened to be there. But I'm telling you firsthand, and I want to talk to Patrick when he gets back, but this is what's happening. It's creating this false flag to get everybody to be manufactured their consent. Yes, we have to go in and save the day yet again from a mess that we created.
Yeah, and somebody in the chat put, how does Matt know? He was in Mexico. That's how he knows. He was in Mexico.
Also, let me also be clear. I have family on my wife's side. They're from Guadalajara. So we have actual people, family members telling us what is happening. And that is, so I'm telling you from directly, this is what is happening, guys. And it's designed to make everybody afraid, everybody uncertain, everybody saying, man, Mexico's going up in flames, but we know what's really happening. And that's why we have to have these type of conversations.
Exactly. And see, this is my suspicion. This is the way I see it. When Mexico says, okay, we were in on it or whatever, we did it, taking out this so-called drug lord, right? Here's what I think. The U.S. goes, hey, wouldn't you like to take out this drug lord? Oh, we'll help you take it out. Meanwhile, as you said, they're dealing with these other cartels. Hey, I think they're going to try to take out your boss. If I were you, I'd blow some things up. And by the way, we just happen to have a little bit of extra explosives around that we're not doing anything with. Here you go. Do you need some areas? We'll help you out. We'll embed some CNN reporters with you. Hey, this is Aaron Burnett with CNN hanging out with the drug lord. What are you blowing up today there, Pedro? Everything. Great. Now back to our sponsors, Pfizer. I mean, that's what you're looking at. To me, I think that's what it is.
Yeah. And could they do a little better job at making them look more distinguished between the cartel members and the Mexico military? Because you can't tell these guys apart. They look the same because they have the same weaponry, the same outfits, the same everything. And they look very high tech on both sides. So it starts to be, it gets confusing. Wait a minute. Who just killed who? What side did? No, we've given them the tools, both sides, to combat whatever operation we want them to do at the time. It's all strategic. It's all by design. And I can't stress that enough. The Ukraine, if you guys want to go check on that, just go check out DD Geopolitics. They did a great story on this, showed you that back in September, it was reported the cartel members were in Ukraine getting the weapons, getting the training, getting the drone capabilities sent back to Mexico. This was all done in advance, months right before Trump declared this cartel a terrorist organization, and then yet we're flying them to Ukraine to get trained. It's unbelievable. So go do your own research, go check it out, and let's all just be clear. We all need to always take a step back when something breaks like this, and just take a breath before you go out and share the wrong thing because you saw some breaking news and you saw some explosions and you're ready to just share stuff out. Go take a moment, look closer, because a lot of this, there's controlled opposition out there that are telling you a little bit of what I'm saying, but then they're going to blame everything on the previous administration. We just saw this happen. Alex Jones had Dan Dix on from Press for Truth. He's also in Puerto Vallarta. So I'm not saying he's not reporting it inaccurately. He's saying the things I'm saying, but he went on Alex Jones today to specifically tell his audience that this is all the Biden administration that set all this up in advance. Nothing to do with the current. So what did we say to you guys earlier? You're a tribalist. If you're going to blame this only on half of the U.S. government, not the other half, they're all in on it. How many times we got to tell you guys? They're all in on it.
In fact, here's an article that kind of supports what we're saying. Confirmed, the DEA struck a deal with Mexico's most notorious drug cartel. 2014. An investigation by El Universal found that between the years of 2000 and 2012, the U.S. government had an arrangement with Mexico's Sinaloa drug cartel that allowed the organization to smuggle billions of dollars of drugs. No, excuse me. They didn't allow the organization to smuggle billions of dollars of drugs. They helped them so they could get their fair share of the loot. Sinaloa, led by Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, supplies 80% of the drugs entering the Chicago area. There's long been allegations that Guzman's considered to be the world's most powerful drug trafficker, coordinates with American authorities.
Yes.
Well, there you go. We ain't going to get it, but you get my point. So we know now, or it's at least alleged now, if you read that, it was DEA agents that came clean. Okay. So now we have such a history of the United States smuggling heroin during the Vietnam era. The 80s, it was the, Southern Air Transport, things of that nature. Now, 2000 through 2012, wait a minute, 2000 through 2008 was Bush. 2004 to 2012 was Obama, Fast and Furious and all. In other words, it's just what you said. This is not a part, it's an operation.
Yeah. And so the issue right now with the drugs, it's the fentanyl, right? So that's what we try to blame it on Venezuela. The fentanyl coming from Mexico. They say it's coming from the cartels. Well, again, who's funding this operation? We know the CIA's history of planting drugs in our country. We know it for a fact. You talk about the crack cocaine epidemic. We created that. You install that into the impoverished communities, and we're seeing that with the fentanyl. And that's another tool to destabilize not just Mexico. You're destabilizing our own country on purpose, so you can say, "Hey, we have this problem. It's an outside entity. We need to go take care of business." And again, it manufactures more consent because we do see a fentanyl problem here. But again, it's the same playbook that we saw in the 80s and every other operation that the CIA coordinated from the beginning. So always stay skeptical on this stuff, guys. It's in our best interest. It's in our leaders' best interest, the elite's best interest, to keep us unstable, to keep people, the population on some sort of drug, some sort of a mechanism to keep them from thinking, keep them in the case of fentanyl, you're literally standing there like a zombie, not functioning. And so that actually benefits our elite. It doesn't benefit Mexico. It benefits us. So understand that's a tool to get us to say something's wrong. We need to make a difference. Let's bring Trump in. He's going to challenge the deep state. No, he's not. He's going to continue the same thing that each administration has done before him.
By the way, where is it? That's weird. I've got I've got something and I want to share.
It's not sharing. Is it a StreamYard issue?
No, it is I'm going to try this. It's let's just say it's something that they may not be happy about me sharing. So I'm going to get rid of everything else but that. Let me try this. That's weird. It doesn't show. There we go. The U.S. government allowed the Mexican, there we go, and to carry out its business unimpeded, the drug cartel. You look it up, but when it goes down, so this guy who is Miles Frechette, a former U.S. ambassador to Colombia, said, while the problem of drug trafficking in Colombia persists, the tactic of secret agreements had managed to reduce it. That's what he claims, right? This guy says the tactic, right, which is helping drug cartels, has been previously used in Colombia, Cambodia, that's heroin. Thailand, that's probably heroin. Afghanistan, that's probably heroin, right? Look at this. The period when the relationship between the DNA and DEA and Sinaloa was supposed to have been the closest between 2006 and 12 saw a major surge of violence in Mexico and was the time when the Sinaloa cartel rose significantly in prominence. So what we're looking at is this, like you said, we're very familiar with the cartels. We built them. We created them. And then when El Chapo, I guess he was going to talk, got a little too big for his britches, we gave him the Manuel Noriega treatment, who might I add was also a U.S. drug dealer.
Yeah, it's the same playbook every time, guys. So again, that's the best advice I could give you. Do your own research, look at the timestamps, go back and check this stuff out. This is not this setting the stage for more manufactured consent, for more interventionism is not the way we need to be going right now. We need to be curious and stand up against this. And it's not enough just to call out one administration. That's not enough. That's just the starting point. As far as I'm concerned, that it's controlled opposition at this point. If you're only going to call out half of our government. Again, the Epstein files released, this should be enough for everyone to say, look, they're all in on it. Stop it with this. Biden did this, Trump did that, Obama. No, these are just the next head of the operation that they select every 4 years to make you think somebody's coming in to change things up. They're not. It's the same thing every time. And the CIA has been doing the same thing every single time. It doesn't matter which president is in office at the time.
Here's an example of what we always talk about, the duopoly and the part that the media plays in it, right?
Yeah.
AOC and Secretary of State Rubio offer competing visions of U.S. foreign policy at the Munich Security Conference. No, they didn't.
No,
they did not. What's his name? Rubio goes there and he gives us the old, yes, sirree. It is, we got to continue to run the world, rule the world. And then, by the way, we got to make sure we go to the global South and take all the stuff from the little brown people, because what do they need with gold and oil and stuff like that, right? That's the game. Okay. Then AOC comes on and she gives us the Democratic version. We must stand up against authoritarianism on behalf of democracy. They just said the same thing. I prefer Rubio, because Rubio just comes out and says, let's go kill them and steal their stuff like we used to the good old days. Where AOC puts the pretty, well, no, okay, are we going to kill them? Yeah. Are we going to steal their stuff? Yeah, but we're going to do it for a nice reason. We're going to drop bombs with bows and flowers that'll hug the people and then kill them. That's what, go ahead. I don't know. Anyway, go ahead.
No, this is that old meme that has been shared a lot. The missiles, the difference between Democrats and Republicans, the same missile, it's going to the same country to murder the same people. But the Democrats' missile has Black Lives Matter flag on it, has a rainbow flag. It has a, we're all in this together, whatever flag, whatever, your attracting the right feelings. So we're talking about feelings, and that's why that article is so misleading, because they're not offering different policies, they're offering different feelings, and that's the trick. I think that's really the reveal. I think a lot of people are seeing now. They go, wait, we've been tricked. We've been tricked by feelings. We've been tricked by joy from Kamala, or whether it's hope and change from Obama. We've been tricked by those feelings. The Republicans, we don't do the feelings. We say tough and aggressive, and we're gonna we're gonna save democracy by force. But it's the same policy. Trump's policy is no different. He just has different verbiage. So don't get stuck with verbiage differences and feelings differences. Same policy, just a different face to conduct it. And that's what we're talking about. And the AOC, that's a perfect example, because AOC, she wants every single regime change war. She wants every single NATO policy. She wants every single one of them. She might be able to say the G word here and there, but she still wants the thing to happen. It's just in a different way and a different feeling about it.
Well, what she says is, she'll say like, well, we've got to do more to help the working people around America. Like, and she'll just like say that as as an aside. We've got to do more to help. Now let's get back to this war stuff. Authoritarians, where are they? We got to go get them. Putin. Hey, a nuclear war. That's the direction we want to go. But somehow we've got to help the working people. What's interesting is she never has a detailed proposal of how we're going to help the working people. Just in general, we got to help them. You know why? Because we got to give them a job in the military so they can go over somewhere and get blown to smithereens. That's the job they got for the working people. Dying ain't no way to make a living, in the words of the outlaw Josie Wales. Now let's move on to a truly brilliant man who represents America, Mike Huckabee. Did you see that clown show with Tucker Carlson?
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, this is probably the most disgusting, most unhinged Christian Zionist U.S. ambassador to Israel we've ever had, let alone any U.S. official position, unhinged Christian Zionist psychopaths we've ever seen in any administration is Mike Huckabee. But as I'm watching that, the reason I'm able to get through and not turn it off and like go throw up in the bathroom, the reason I'm able to do that is I'm looking on the other side of the interview. I'm seeing Tucker Carlson actually conducting journalism, which we don't see ever anywhere. It's unbelievable that he's the one sitting there with Huckabee, asking him questions that Huckabee's saying, I've never been asked that before. I've never been asked about my meeting with the traitor Jonathan Pollard. You're the first journalist to ask me. And that's a telling thing, because it goes back to this fake theater of Trump versus Kamala or whatever it is. You have these this press room that we're to believe that these people that represent CNN, MSNBC, that their job is to show you how horrible Trump is, yet none of them can ask any real questions about the greater Israel project. They can't ask Trump about his dangerous methodology of the policy that, again, both sides do the same policy, but what's happening in Iran right now, he can't ask that. They can't ask him any of those questions. So why wouldn't you be able to? If your job is to say, hey, we have to stop Trump. We have to stop Trump. You've been telling us for 10 years, stop Trump, stop Trump. This would be a way to stop him. You could bring these things up. You can corner Huckabee in another way. It shouldn't have to take Tucker Carlson to fly to Tel Aviv and barely get an interview out in the airport before he has to get out of there, because they don't give him any security and they're holding him down. They're bringing him in a back room. I mean, it's scary stuff what he's doing, but I think the key is he's the only one doing it. It's not coming from anywhere else. And that's why Huckabee seemed to have been a little thrown off there. And ultimately he certainly got knocked out by Tucker.
And ultimately the other thing about it is, okay, if somebody's president and they do something like that, they should be fired immediately. But Trump doesn't have the authority to fire him. And if he did, he wouldn't fire him. He just doubled down. He's doing a great job. It is so obvious now that the U.S. is a Zionist empire. That's all it is. And it's not Jewish empire. It's not a Christian empire. Trump ain't Jewish. Huckabee's not Jewish. They're Zionists, and the Zionists run everything. And when they ask, how about Ted Cruz? Hey, Ted Cruz, why'd you run for office anyway? So I could represent Israel, and I could be the #1 Israel representative, and I can do things for Israel, give money for Israel, love, hug Israel, everything. You got any money? Yes, I'm an American. Give me your money. It's going to Israel. Food, yeah, got to get that up. It's got to go to Israel. Nothing for Americans. That's what I'm proud to say. So there's friggin' Ted Cruz. And then we bring Huckabee on. Hey, what do you think, Mike? Huckabee, Israel should be able to do anything they want to. We love Israel. Israel's the best. Oh, by the way, did I mention that they're the rulers of the world and we're just filthy scum to do whatever they ask us to do? We're lucky that they should suffer the effrontery of our existence. For God's sake, that's not a government. That is a group of lunatics.
Yeah, and let's be clear here. Look, I saying that Huckabee's the craziest psychopath Christian Zionist we've ever seen. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm doing. That's kind of a shock thing to say, but it is true. But let's not get distracted from the fact that this has been the policy with everyone. He's just the one that's more vocal about it.
Yeah.
And the fact that Tucker got him in this interview to admit the thing that's already been there the entire time. What is that thing? That it's scripture. That the scripture clearly allows us to do anything we want on behalf of Israel, wiping out basically the entire Middle East. And he's telling this out loud. And the reason why it feels like it's the shock right now, and that it's a unique thing that Huckabee's saying and doing, is because nobody has cornered anyone like this, like Tucker did. So we're not able to hear it so blatantly in such a long form discussion where there's no way to justify this behavior. There's no way to justify that he likes murdering children, which he actually said in the interview, that he was happy that children are being murdered in Palestine. And so you don't get those type of hard questions where you're going to admit how insane, when you really look at Christian Zionism, how absolutely insane it is. And when you say these things out loud and you're the representation of the U.S. in Israel and you're saying these things out loud, there's repercussions for this. So I will say Tucker Carlson, what he accomplished isn't just Huckabee revealing what the plan has been all along, but getting him to say it the way he said it. There are going to be international consequences. There's going to be consequences from people that generally would be supporting us or helping us. People in Saudi Arabia, they have to push back. They have to say, wait a minute, this isn't okay. What do you mean? You're going to take out parts of Jordan and Egypt and Saudi Arabia and Iraq? All these different places are totally fine to wipe out on behalf of the chosen ones because the scripture told us that. And so that is now we're seeing the effects of that, and that's what good journalism can do. And by the way, Trump has not denounced anything Huckabee said because he's not allowed to do that. But that also tells us something, that this has been our policy the whole time, and no other media pundit that's allowed in that press room is pushing back on this. And so that's also another tell.
There we go. AOC faces backlash vandalism after voting against cutting U.S. aid to Israel's Iron Dome. I know it wasn't just Israel's Iron Dome. It was money to Israel for all kinds of terrible weapons and stuff.
Weapons, not just defense. Weapons,
now, you notice the way they put it, voting against cutting. No, all you have to do is say vote for. Against sounds like she was voting in opposition to something or whatever. Not against. She voted for money to go to Israel for weapons.
Yeah.
Right? Now listen to this. I remain focused on cutting the flow of U.S. munitions that are being used to perpetuate the genocide in Gaza, she says, after voting to increase the flow of U.S. munitions. Right? Yes, sir. What'd you just do? Well, I voted for more weapons to go to Israel. So what are you trying to do? Well, I'm trying to decrease the weapons to go to Israel by voting for more weapons to go to Israel. That's what they got. I'm sure that AOC is going to run in 2028 at this point because she's a diverse female, whatever the hell, right? First of all, I've listened to her. She ain't that bright. I've listened to her speak. In my humble opinion, I think she's a Kamala Harris kind of figure that checks all the boxes, but she ain't the sharpest knife in the drawer, number one. Rhetorically, she's always confused. They ask her questions. What do you think about this? It takes her 5 minutes to answer. She's horrible. But they'll run her because when it comes to genocide, when it comes to foreign policy, she's a Democrat. So it doesn't matter. They could pick any Democrat. They're pretty much getting the same thing.
She's actually gotten slightly better at BS. I think she's been watching a little Memdami action. She's been watching how to kind of, get through those pauses. So she's becoming more of a weapon for them. And yeah, I think you're right. I think she's certainly gearing up to run, and I think they're going to play her out, see where Newsom falls. And then of course, when it comes down to it, one side's gonna, herd everyone else into the other side and make you think that they're doing something, and that's it. And that's going to be the selection for the Dems, and they're all going to feel like we're responding to the disastrous Trump years, and we're going to make it about the people again. But that was always the plan: herd us back and forth, make us think that the next person's ready. So it is going to do something different. So yeah, I think that watching AOC, it's not saying much because she was really, really bad at this, but she's slowly getting better at getting away with this stuff. But those pauses are still very cringy, Garland, for sure.
Yeah, and and I'm not here to go after anybody, but when we mentioned Alex Jones earlier. So what is it? It's Alex Jones's job, whether he knows it or not, to bring on somebody to say, once, when the US government does some unthinkable act, to bring on somebody who's a Republican to say it's the Democrats. Yeah, it's the Democrats. The Democrats are doing this. The Democrats, AOC, to play that game, right? And then AOC's job is always to say, well, if only we could get rid of the Republicans. I had somebody call my show. I have a radio show in DC. I had somebody call me, not this week, the week before. And they were angry. And I get this every now and then. Well, Garland, I don't understand why you don't. We'll talk about that. It's the Republicans. I'm like, so your thought is the Republicans are behind this. And if we could just get the Republicans out of the way and let the Democrats be in charge, everything would be great, right? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, the Republicans are doing this, and that. And I said the Republicans weren't in power from 2004. 2008 through 2016, and a lot of bad things happened that I really don't like. Killing American citizens, every Tuesday's death day of who we're going to kill, bombed 7 countries, overthrew governments. The Republicans is so, and of course, the diehard Democrat just couldn't get that. It has to be the Republicans. My answer is always this, dude. There are no shortage of places. If you want to turn on MSNBC or CNN, they'll tell you the Republicans are bad and the Democrats are good. You want to turn on Fox, News Nation, something like that, they'll tell you the Democrats are bad and the Republicans are good. If you want that show, go ahead.
Yeah. And then let's not forget the most important. I think for us, we talk about free speech, we talk about censorship. I mean, that's the most telling one. And when we see Democrats completely silent over censorship, and now they have a problem with it, just like just on the other side as well. When you only have a problem with it when it affects your speech, you need to go look yourself in the mirror and say, what is it that I really believe in? Because having that principle, you should be able to see it with either side doing it. We're able to see it. We're able to see that the Biden administration, Trump administration are equally horrible when it comes to punishing people for calling out the state, calling out COVID, calling out a war machine. And that right now we're seeing what happens calling out Israel. There's consequences for that. And it's both sides. So don't just get vocal when it's the other side doing it. We need to be consistent with this, and it's called having principle.
Yes. What are your thoughts on, one of the things that Huckabee said was, Tucker asked him something about, does the do you listen to the American people? Does the American people matter? He said, of course. And Tucker says 80% of the people are not in favor of a war with Iran. And Huckabee says, well, we have polls. The politics don't run by polls. 80% of the people, 80% of the people, and we represent the people. 80% of the people are against it. But that's Zionism. That's a whole other thing. No, you don't run by polls. You run by a poll that comes out of Tel Aviv, out of the Knesset. That's the poll they run out of, whatever the Knesset votes.
Yeah. No, he's got those talking points ready to go. That's an old playbook that you don't look at polls when it affects you, but when you can cite a poll and make it make your case, then all of a sudden they're important. But Tucker was absolutely brilliant on some of these moments. It got Huckabee tongue-tied. One other one I would point out that he did, and this was a tough one. I had a hard time with this one just because it was personal. I think you've had Colonel Anthony Aguilar on your
yes,
show.
I have.
Yeah, we've interviewed him too on the Homeless Left, and it was that was a hard one when Huckabee came clearly with a Fed injected talking point that he had rehearsed, and you could tell because he brought it up out of nowhere. He just interrupted Tucker, and he said, "Hey, by the way, that Colonel Anthony Aguilar that you gave a platform to, and Tucker was like, I don't give platforms, I talk to people. Okay, so well, yeah, whatever. But he came on your show and said that he saw the IDF kill a little boy. Well, he was lying, and Tucker's like, huh, what are you talking? And he had this whole story about Anthony Aguilar made this whole thing up, and Tucker's like, how can you say that? We don't have proof. Like, oh, we have proof. We know everything, and Hamas was going to kill him, and so he had all this stuff. And Tucker's like, look, you can talk about a little boy. I can't sit here and say what you're saying isn't true, but I can tell you that he was absolutely, his story was his story, and that's why I talked to him. And by the way, what else did Anthony Aguilar share? All these other war crimes that the IDF has admitted to. What does Huckabee have to say about that? Nothing. So this is a smear campaign, and I'm saying that this is actually interesting. It was hard to hear that because it was so frustrating knowing that Mike Huckabee doesn't know any idea what he's talking about. He was given that information from top down to get that out there. Why did he give him that information? Because Anthony Aguilar is making a dent. He's doing something. He's rattling the cages. He's getting them upset. So that was an attempt to shut it down. I think Tucker handled it very well. I don't think he saw it coming, so he was kind of ad-libbing it, but he did fairly well at responding to that and shutting that BS down. But that meant that something is happening, that there's a dent you can be making. Like we know Colonel Anthony Aguilar is making a dent as he battles the entire duopoly, the entire uniparty, as we know he's running for Congress right now in North Carolina. So congrats to him and making that dent. That you literally had to have this Huckabee character going on this big interview. This was a massive interview, and telling the world, don't listen to that guy. Don't listen to who? Well, guess what? He probably got more people interested in checking out Anthony Aguilar after that interview. So jokes on Huckabee on that one.
Well, I had Anthony Aguilar on and talked about that stuff, right? And here's what's interesting. On either side of the interview, there was, 10, 12, 15,000 views. His view was like one of the lowest I've had, like 3,000 or something if it's lucky. And I know, and I like all these people are like, oh yeah, watch that. It was great. I went to New York. People like, oh, I like that Anthony. And I'm like, well, how the hell did all of these people watch these interviews, but I only got like 3,000? It's obvious that they're throttling the numbers of views on these things. It's like, Anthony Aguilar, let's keep it at no matter how many views he gets, let's make it 10,000. Oh, wait a minute, 30,000, take one of those zeros off. Let's make it 3,000 views. You know what I mean? It's obvious what they're doing because they're scared to death of a guy like him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but I do think he's making a dent. But that's certainly I tend to agree with what you just said. That doesn't make any sense. Why would he not? And you have people coming up and telling you how much they love the interview. That's pretty wild. But he's not going to stop. He's going to keep going around. And I hope we can talk to him again on our show as well, and keep that messaging alive. That messaging, that non-tribal messaging against the entire thing, not just the current thing. The entire system has to be taken down.
Exactly. People have to understand that, those of us, and that's why I got my tinfoil hats now I'm wearing. In view of the, the Epstein stuff, all the things that people were laughed at, that they were, put down about, that they and all of that. I mean, all of the things that we said during COVID when we were like very suspicious, and then you find out that Epstein and Gates are talking like 5 years before that. Like, yeah, sirree, the old pandemic. Well, why the hell would you be talking about a pandemic? Yeah, we can make this happen. Working on this pandemic. Yes, things will look good for the old pandemic. The hell would you talk about a pandemic in 2015? Should I not be suspicious that perhaps this thing was planned?
Yeah, no, I think what's happening, and we can talk for hours about the stuff we've seen in these files, but I think that an important point is that people are looking at it and then they're becoming numb because there's so much there and they're kind of checking out. And I think that was also part of the design of kind of overwhelming us with so much, and people are kind of checking out. I saw there was a healthcare worker, a nurse, I believe out in Boston, that put out a TikTok video. He said, I'm so angry at my coworkers because they were so up in arms about or maybe this was in Minneapolis. Yeah, it was in Minneapolis because they were talking about remember the whole Somalian eating cats and all this stuff, and it was and they were like, we're health workers, we care about people, we care about animals, and I was so disgusted, and they were all talking around the water cooler about how horrible this is, and And then the Epstein files drops, and you're like, hey, do you guys want to talk about that? The people running the world are eating children and eating baby. Is that something you guys want to talk about? No, they don't. They shut down. They're told. And she's like, I don't understand. What is the matter with you people? Like, and we've seen people having these freakouts. What's the matter with people? They're eating babies. What the hell is the matter with? Well, so that's the point. Let's not be angry at those people. Let's just keep talking about it. I think that was the method in place for putting this all out there and getting people just very like overwhelmed, and ultimately they're numb from it. They can't process the scope of it. They cannot process this. And I will say that there's one file that stuck out to me, Garland. We covered this on our show a week ago, but there was the Barclays CEO joking around with Epstein back in 2014 on an email. Nothing incriminating there as far as crimes. I think it may have slipped through the cracks with people. They were just having a little joke around session where they were mocking Americans. They were mocking people during this period of time where Black Lives Matter was getting started and up and going. And we were just this housing crisis had occurred, and Obama had kicked like 5.4 million people out of their homes. And there was a Super Bowl. There was a Jay-Z performing at the Super Bowl. And what this Barclays CEO was joking with Epstein about was, look at all these Americans tuned in to Jay-Z and watching Super Bowl. And when they're losing their houses, they're like nothing's going to get them in the street. They think they have a movement, but they don't. It's all rigged. It's all top down. And they have no idea that the guy that they're looking on the Super Bowl. So he's just mocking us. At the same time, he's saying, look at the people in Sao Paulo who are dealing with the housing crisis around the same time. And they were in the streets. They were sticking it to those banks. Those banks weren't too big to fail. The people were not going to let that happen in Sao Paulo. So it shows you they were aware of how much more easily we're manipulated here, how much easily we kind of shut down when life gets crazy, when we start having to think about things. We just tune into the Super Bowl. It's easier to do that. And it's so funny that Jay-Z was that reference at the time, because they could have said P. Diddy, anybody. And like, these are the people we're tuning into are the people that are also part of the elite psychopaths. That's what we're talking about here. And that's why they were joking about it. We need to do better. We need to figure out how to get in the streets. How do we do that? Is the thing that we were indoctrinated with, does it include this vaccine schedule? Does it include our childhood? Is there something about us being so drugged up on whatever it is that they gave us, whether it was crack cocaine in the 80s, fentanyl right now, whether it's vaccines our entire lives? What is the thing they're injecting us with that's making us so desensitized, or I would say so out of touch of what's happening right in front of our eyes? We need to look at that, because I don't think the rest of the world has that problem. And it might be because of all, I don't know. It's just a speculation, but we might want to look at our history of putting stuff in our bodies. And maybe that is creating some sort of blockade. That's one of my theories right now, but we just need to do better overall.
Well, and I do think that the propaganda is so thick you could cut it with a knife. You can't overlook that, because look at the people who have moved to social to alternative media. You know, I used to go to Jimmy Dore when he'd come to town, and I would go to Jimmy Dore's, and there was, you know, mostly old hippies like me, you know, a lot of hippie-minded people and stuff like that, and people hanging out. Okay, fair enough. The last time I went to Jimmy Dore's show, there was like a bunch of like middle-aged white guys with their wives. And I'm like, holy crap, this is an entire Jimmy Dore is an alternative media guy. And I'm like, this is an entirely different group of people than I saw 3 or 4 years ago. So I think we can all say ourselves, alternative media is making a difference, and we got to keep pushing that. Oh, by the way, let me let everybody know, people were asking about the old tinfoil hat. I got a merch store. Look at this.
Yes.
We got tinfoil hats of various and sundry types. Look at that. Or if you might want it like that, right? With various, so we got lots of tinfoil hats there if you want them. A couple other odds and ends here. There you go. I'm still working on it, but there's lots of various varieties of there for tinfoil hats. And of course, we got a shirt here. Hey, look at this T-shirt. Biden bomb Nord Stream. What do you think about that? I think there's a Biden bomb Nord Stream hat down there. So you can go to my merch store. Just go look in the show notes, and there's a link to the merch store in the show notes. So if you want your tinfoil hat or your Biden bomb Nord Stream shirt or something like that, Just go there and check it out. I think it's pretty funny. And who knows, I maybe the old tinfoil hat. And part of this is it's like somebody calls you a name and you just laugh it off. And that is, if somebody calls you a tinfoil hat after Epstein, we got to lose that. Everything that the tinfoil hat wearer said, they're like, yeah, we're doing it all. Darn, we're caught. But oh well, there's nothing you can do about it anyway. That's what we got. So we might as well laugh at it to some extent, celebrate it. And like you said, we need to come up with a name for them. But at this point, that tinfoil hat stuff is done.
Yeah, it should be done. And if you've been a person that has been laughing at the jokes at the expense of the conspiracy theorists, tinfoil hat wearers, maybe it's time you start getting to know one of these people and get friendly. Try to start, strike up a friendship with one of these people, because you might want to be able to check in with somebody close to you when the next big, chaos event happens and the next pandemic occurs. You might want to have a friend close to you, tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist friend, that you can ask them what is actually going on. And they might be able to tell you some accurate stuff, because guess what? It seems like they've been kind of right, batting 1,000 these last 5-6 years. So yeah, that would be a good idea.
Before we go, I want to ask you, I don't know not the answer to this question or not, but have you heard any information recently about America's widow, Erica Kirk?
Oh boy, man. This is let's see if I have anything new since we last spoke. I know that's the work Candace has been doing has been awesome. There's the checking out some of these theories have definitely come through. Erica Kirk, from the last we know, the TPUSA did they did a great job at distracting everybody when they did their little halftime show. I know that was a well coordinated distraction from the fact that we've been getting to the bottom of it. We've been looking at the ties to the Mossad that had clearly infiltrated this organization and clearly installed Erica Kirk. So there's more to be discovered. I don't know if I have anything on my end in the last week, but that was certainly a major distraction that worked on a lot of people and got them to think that they put up the greatest Super Bowl show ever because it wasn't Bad Bunny, and they liked that for some reason, and that was enough. But no, we know there's more underneath that. And
the thing about it is they were like talking about the numbers and they made up numbers and all that. But here's the thing. I think that's intentional, because if I make up numbers and they're obvious and I bull crap around with the numbers, the next day everybody's going to be arguing about the numbers. Well, I think their numbers were wrong. Well, I think their numbers were right. Well, they made up the numbers. No, they didn't. You left-leaning something or other. Oh, yes, they did. I love Kid Rock. You know what I mean? They look. If we're arguing about the numbers, we already lost. Instead of saying, hey, I know you want to talk about a halftime show, but did you read this part about raping and eating children? Perhaps we could, you know what I mean? They want us to talk about a halftime Super Bowl show. Look, I watched the game. I went to family. My sister always has a big Super Bowl party where we hang out. A lot of people are in football and we eat food. It's an opportunity for family and friends to get together, the people we don't see. Oh, we talk about stuff. I see people I haven't seen since last year's Super Bowl party, and we hug and we eat and drink, and that's fine. And the Super Bowl halftime show, I probably usually don't even watch it anyway. I'm running off at the mouth and having a blast, right? So if we're talking about the numbers, we're not talking about their attempted war on Iran. We're not talking about how many masks we should wear, and that why in the hell there's weird white blood clots coming out of people's body that suddenly appeared after 2021 for no apparent reason, with no medical history of ever seeing anything like that before. See, we're not talking about that if we're talking about the numbers of who watched Bad Bunny.
Yeah. And I think this is we kind of all have to. Anyone who's a sports fan, whether it's NFL, NBA, I love NBA, we have to start to understand that these organizations are just as captured as our political organizations.
I almost forgot the whole. Could you comment on the LeBron James thing for people that don't know? Tell them about that, about what happened.
Yeah. So we had the All-Star game over the Valentine's Day weekend. It was in LA right here. So everybody came. The NBA stars all showed up. All the big owners were here. And just so I don't know if you guys know, but half of the NBA are owned by Zionists. Half the teams are owned by Zionists, and they keep buying them up. I don't know if people know this. Mary Madelson, the biggest Zionist contributor to Trump's campaign, $100 million, just bought the Dallas Mavericks. Literally bought the Dallas Mavericks in September. So they're putting all their pieces on the chessboard. They're doing this all-star game, and when they get here, what else did they? Who else showed up? Well, there was an all-star from Portland. His name is Denny Avdija, which I didn't even really know this guy at all. I guess he scored decent numbers enough.
He's a good player. He used to be with the Wizards. He got drafted by the Washington Wizards. That's why I know him. He's a really good player.
He's good.
He's from Israel. I mean, from his perspective of just a basketball player, but you knew that guy was good because he's from Israel. Anyway, go ahead.
And so the thing that stuck out about it was when they were announcing the players, and we saw a shot of him in the locker room. The kid so excited. Oh, I know I was part of the IDF. I don't know why everybody hates me. And it's like, this dude, look, like, why is there an IDF? Why is there a murderer on our basketball? But anyways, he holds up his jersey and he's got an Israeli flag on his jersey. And I'm like, oh, I guess they're doing country flags this time. No, they're not. Nobody else has a country flag. There's no U.S. flag. There's no nothing. There's no Serbia flag you don't have any flags on the court except for the Israel flag on his jersey. Very strange. Now, LeBron was asked about this. You mentioned LeBron. This is where we're understanding that it's so bad. The NBA is so captured that the leaders, they can't even say no comment. They can't even step out and say, look, can I just play? No, LeBron, when he's asked about this, he has to give his full support to this guy. And then he has to say he played incredible. Also, LeBron has to put a little plug in for Israel. He didn't have to. Nobody said, hey, can you tell us what you think about Israel? No, he said, I want people to know I have only heard good things. I can't wait to go. I've only heard good things. What you're lying through your teeth, LeBron. Could you at least pretend that you say, hey, I've heard stuff, but I want to go see for myself? Of course, you've heard more than bad things. Everybody, or more than good things. Every single person has heard bad things about Israel since October 7th. That's a fact. What you do with that information, that's up to you. But don't sit there and lie to us that you've only heard good things. That's a lie. So we look at these people that do stand up, and I think that it's very telling that the NBA commentary crew is instructed not to comment on the people that are saying something. Who are those people? What we saw here in LA for that All-Star game, we saw two prominent people standing up against Israel. The way it was Spike Lee and it was Kyrie Irving. They were here. Spike Lee was wearing his full Palestinian garb. He was so you have nothing to say about that TNT crew. Nothing to say. Shot of Spike Lee, a guy you guys have been commenting on for decades. And his whole thing with Reggie Miller in the 90s and Knicks for space. You always have. Why don't you have anything to say about his outfit? Here's why. We know why. Because you can't. Because if you say, look, there's Spike Lee representing a humanitarian cause. That's cool of him for doing it. You can't do that. That's challenging Israel. Guess what else you can't do? You can't say Spike Lee showed up in terrorist outfit. Well, how dare he? That's also not. So you have to act like he's not doing it all. Guess you also have to act like isn't doing anything. Kyrie Irving shows up in a press shirt representing the murdered journalists in Gaza. He's wearing a press uniform to commemorate the courageous journalists that have been murdered by the IDF, and they have nothing to say about him. This guy who has been beaten up on for the last 6 years for standing up against the COVID mandate, for sharing a link on Amazon. They called him a anti-Semitic. Oh, he needs to apologize immediately. I mean, so these people are given their talking orders about what they can say, what they can't say, what they need to say. They need to look in the camera and say a thing, and that's how they keep their jobs. And they're all in on it, and it's a disgrace. So we need more people like Kyrie and Spike to make these kind of statements and tell us how bad it actually is, because it's really bad, Garland, and it's getting worse.
Yes. Well, it's bad news, but we're going to keep giving people good news, right? We're going to keep doing what we do. Oh, by the way, I had somebody just say, hey, your link is not working for your merch page. I checked it and it's not. So I'm going to be replacing that as soon as the show is over. So thanks a lot. Anyway, Matt WEINGLASS, thank you very much. Certainly appreciate it. And tell everybody where they can find you.
We're the Homeless Left on YouTube. It's THL Presents. You can see it right there. That's our channel that did not get taken down. Thank God it's working. So guys, please give us some love on that channel. Also on Rumble, it is the Homeless Left. You can follow us there. We're on Tuesdays and Thursdays afternoon, all afternoon. So check us out.
All right, thanks. And all 458 people that are watching this, please make sure you share this on all your social media platforms. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And of course, thanks to my Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee and all of those people. Cash App, I got a P.O. box if you want to support the channel or send anything up, that's fine. And as I said, I'm going to change the link right away so people who want the tinfoil hats or the other stuff, my merch page can get it, because I got a bad link. I should have checked it. Thanks a lot. Matt, we're out.